What is the recreational and commercial Part 107? What's up, guys? This is React Electronics, where we go into the basics of recreational and Part 107. Drones have become increasingly popular over the past decade, with people making use of them for both their commercial and recreational needs. And as drone usage becomes more prevalent, it's important for individuals to understand the regulations and guidelines surrounding their use. Drones can pose a danger to the general public if not properly flown, which is why there are regulations to control their use, and one of the most important regulations to be aware of while operating a drone is Part 107. Part 107 is a set of regulations established by the Federal Aviation Administration that governs the operation of small unmanned aircraft systems, or drones, for commercial purposes. These regulations are designed to ensure that drone operators are operating their devices safely and responsibly, while also protecting the public and other aircraft from potential harm. The regulations outlined in Part 107 cover a wide range of topics, including pilot certification, aircraft registration, operational restrictions, and more. Understanding these regulations is critical for anyone who intends to operate a drone for commercial purposes. Before diving deeper into Part 107, it's important to understand the difference between recreational and commercial drone use. Recreational drone use refers to using a drone for personal enjoyment or hobby purposes. And while there are still guidelines and regulations that apply to recreational drone use, they are generally less stringent than those governing commercial drone use. Commercial drone use, on the other hand, refers to using a drone for any type of business or profit-generating activity. This can include everything from aerial photography and videography to surveying and mapping, agriculture, and more. It could also include taking pictures and videos that will be used to sell a product or service, taking pictures and videos that will go on an official website, or even using your drones on search and rescue missions, whether or not the drone operator is compensated. When using a drone for commercial purposes, the operator is required to obtain a Part 107 certification from the FAA. Now, to obtain a Part 107 certification, you need to be old enough, at least 16 years of age, and need to pass the aeronautical knowledge test with a minimum passing score of 70%. After passing the test, you would need to get vetted by the Transportation Security Administration. They'll basically be running a background check on you, much like they do with private and recreational pilots. Now, once you've obtained your Part 107 certification or the Remote Pilot Certificate, you're legally permitted to operate a drone for commercial purposes, subject to the regulations outlined in Part 107. You would also need to register your drone with the FAA through the FAA Drone Zone website. Now, let's dive in briefly on the basics of the Part 107. If you want more in-depth info, you can search for info and study guides online. Now, as I mentioned earlier, your certificate and registration allow you the opportunity to use your drone for commercial purposes in all the ways already mentioned. And without a doubt, flying your drone commercially comes with more perks than flying it as a hobby does, and there are several operational restrictions to abide by. First off, your drone must not weigh more than 55 pounds, and that includes the payload. Also, your drone must also be within your visual line of sight, which means seeing the drone with your own eyes rather than your screen on a device or goggles. To circumvent this, it's best to have a partner with you to be your eyes as the visual observer while you control the drone. Now, if you want to fly during civil twilight, which is 30 minutes before sunrise or 30 minutes after sunset, and at night, it's best to make sure the anti-collision lights on your drone can be visible for at least 3 statute miles. Another important piece is the Remote ID, which broadcasts your drone's aircraft identification, location, and altitude during flight with other parties, such as the FAA, law enforcement, other federal agencies, and other operators in the area. This ability gives safety and security of the airspace a top priority. Newer drone models have now been integrated with RID out of the box, but if you have an older drone, you can purchase an RID module separately to stay compliant. When operating, you can't fly your drone over people who are not directly participating in the operation or heavily populated areas. An exception is unless they are under a covered structure or covered vehicle that provides reasonable protection. The only time you can fly your drone over people is if your drone is heading home, flying momentarily, and not hovering over anyone. Best to keep it minimal to minimize the risk to others. Now, pertaining to operating from a moving vehicle, you can operate it from a car or a boat, but not from an aircraft, and it's best to do it in an area that isn't very populated. To be on the safer side, best to do it when you're the one not operating a moving vehicle. Now, there are 4 categories on drone regulations when it comes to operating over people and vehicles, and you can do a quick search about these online. In terms of height, you can't fly your drone higher than 400 feet above ground level. An exception would only be if you're flying above the tallest structure, such as a skyscraper or cell tower, and you can go 400 feet above it from the tallest point within a 50-foot radius. While you can fly your drone in a Class G airspace without prior authorization, you can't do that in airspace classes such as A, B, C, D, and E, which all require authorization. Just remember, Class G is the free fly zone, which simply means uncontrolled airspace, and you can't operate within 5 miles of a nearby airport without having a waiver from the FAA and/or notify and get permission from an air controller. For details on the 5 other airspace classes, you can find more info online. Still talking about places you can fly your drones? If you want to fly even closer to an airport or within other restricted airspaces like military installations, you will need authorization. Not from the air traffic controller this time around, but from the FAA. If you want to make sure you're in a clear and uncontrolled airspace, you can use apps that you can download on your phone, like Before You Fly or Air Control by Aloft, that use GPS real-time data such as wind speed, weather, and geolocation, and the ability to ask the FAA for permission and time of use, all from the app. These apps are partnered with the FAA, which shows no-fly zones and altitude regulations, so you can be rest assured you know you're able to fly within the confines of FAA regulations. Once you're in a location, before you send your drone out to fly, be sure to check on these apps prior to flying so you know you're in the clear. If you're in the zone which requires you to notify the FAA, it's a simple touch of a button to notify them how long you'll be flying, and depending on if altitude is regulated in that area, set the altitude you'll be flying at. After the selections have been completed, it'll send a notification to the FAA, and in a couple of seconds or minutes, you'll get clear to proceed or denial by the FAA via text or app notification. In addition to flying, you can't max out the speed of your drone. The fastest you can go is 100 miles per hour. Also, whatever you do, avoid manned aircraft at all costs and give them the right of way. I know that all these restrictions might sound like they're cramping your style, but consider the fact that recreational flyers also must abide by these rules because security and safety matters. Anyway, it's important that you familiarize yourself with these operational restrictions and to adhere to them at all times. Failure to comply with these regulations can result in fines, legal penalties, and other consequences. Another important consideration for commercial drone operators is insurance. While insurance is not a requirement under Part 107, it's highly recommended for anyone who plans to use a drone for commercial purposes. This is because drones can be expensive to repair or replace in the event of an accident or malfunction, which can help mitigate those costs. You should carefully consider your needs and the risks associated with your drone operations when choosing an insurance policy. Now, for those who are just getting a drone for the fun of it, there is a Part 107 exemption. That is, you are not required to get a Part 107 certification. However, there are guidelines and regulations set by the FAA that you're required to follow. First off, you need to register your drones with the FAA if the drone weighs between 0.55 pounds and 55 pounds. Additionally, recreational drone users are also required to follow the FAA's safety guidelines for recreational drone use, which include flying at or below 400 feet, flying within your visual line of sight, not flying over groups of people or stadiums, not flying near other aircraft, especially near airports, and not flying near emergency response efforts, pretty much the same basis the Part 107 covers. It's important that you follow these guidelines as a recreational drone flyer to ensure the safe operation of your drone and to avoid potential legal consequences. But you're not completely off the hook regarding tests. While the commercial flyers must pass the FAA's Part 107 test, a recreational flyer must pass the Recreational UAS Safety Test, also known as Trust before you can fly. Flying recreationally uncertified can have serious consequences if caught by authorities. Trust is an online exam created by the FAA in the United States, free to take, and is required for anyone who flies a recreational drone weighing between 0.55 and 55 pounds. The exam covers various topics, including FAA regulations for flying drones in the national airspace, airspace classification and operating requirements, aviation weather sources and effects of weather on UAS operations, emergency procedures, maintenance, and inspection procedures for UAS at a more basic level than the Part 107. All that said, even if you pass the Trust exam, you must still follow all FAA regulations and guidelines when flying your drone, including registering your drone and following local and state laws. One more thing before we call it a day here. The Part 107 license is valid for 2 years from the date it's issued. The fee to take the exam at the time of this video is $175, and the initial test must be taken at an FAA-approved testing site. After 2 years, commercial drone operators can now renew their license by taking a free recurrent training course online to maintain their certification on the FAA website, FAASafety.gov. The Recurrent Knowledge course covers similar topics, but it's shortened and more focused on updates to regulations, night operations, and best practices. On the other hand, recreational drone operators only need to take the Trust exam once, so the Trust certification is basically valid for life. However, you must be careful with your certificate because neither the test administrator nor the FAA will retain your identifiable information. So if you lose that certificate, it can't be reprinted or reissued. Keep it in a safe place. And that's basically all there is to know about Part 107 and how it relates to recreational and commercial drone operators. If you found this video useful, don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe to the channel for more videos just like this. For useful links, look in the description below. We'll see you in the next video.